Well, let's begin off with the big news for today. Now, we know for a fact that the unemployed doctors have again protested, demanding for the jobs that they were being promised by this government. What is the position of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy regarding the unemployed doctors continuously protesting for what they think rightfully belongs to them?
Well, thank you so much. We are of the view that the Zambian doctors, these doctors that are employed now, are working on what is called the government assurance. As you are aware, the provision of these 11,000 jobs to the doctors and health people is part of the government assurance. In other words, it is in the budget for this year. And obviously there is that, it's not really excitement, but it is an expectation from these health workers who believe that time for them to end their season of hopelessness of not being employed is coming to an end. And as the days move by, as the weeks move by, and as the months move by, there is a concern on their part that probably this promise may never come. And this is the desperation you see of them getting on the streets to make their point. In other words, to remind government that there is a promise and a government assurance that has been given, and we must deal with it. However, as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, who have been in government before, we do understand that there is a process to place people on the payroll. There's a process that has to be undertaken. It doesn't happen overnight. There is a gap between the day of promise and the day of fulfillment, and the in-between is a process that is worked on in order to ensure that, the promise is effectively implemented and legally implemented. So I think that gap, regardless of how long it is a gap of anxiety on the part of those that are looking for the job. And so for us, we would like to advise government, first of all, before we advise our colleagues, or rather advise the people that are demonstrating that there is a process, but also to advise government that there is no way you can manage people that have been promised something with silence. It is important that the UPND government creates such a communication machine that it is going to constantly provide the assurance and continue to repeat the promise that we are going to get this done. It may take us a little bit of time, and the reason it will take us a little bit of time is because of A, B, C, D. So government must put everything aside and create a communication system that is going to help these Zambian people.
So you do agree, Dr. Mumba, that the current communication system that is in place is not as effective as it should be, because I think of the evidence that we are seeing now that, the people are agitated when, they'll begin to, to get to the hospitals and work for the people of Zambia. And this is the same with the unemployed, teachers. Yeah,
look, at the end of the day, there will be frustrations. There is a change of government from one government to the other. There is now the effecting or the demand to effect the promises that were made during the campaign, and also to ensure that these jobs are given. So there is that frustration. You can't run away from it. This is why we insist as MMD that, having been in government, one of the greatest assets of any successful government is a communication system that explains every point. I read today that, the doctors had wanted to march to State House to go and make their case there, and the police did not give them the permit or something to that effect. But I think the question must be, why do they want to go to State House if they have already been to the Permanent Secretary of Health or to the Minister of Health? Is it because they have not gotten the answer they want? And is the communication effective, or it's a lack of effectiveness of this communication? I think to us as MMD, having been in government, we respect the fact that this process will have to take its time, and that time must be communicated to the people that are involved. If it's not communicated, the demonstrations will continue
But
to
obviously,
increase and
as
to
leader of
rise.
the opposition, President Mumba, you've heard the communications that have been coming through from the Ministry of Health. Do you think, even though information has been provided, what the information which has been provided to the unemployed doctors is that government is trying to clean the system and it's trying to be methodical so that when these are employed, there is no any trouble with the payment of salaries and whatnot. From your end as the opposition,
Well, look,
leader, are you satisfied with the position of government, to why they've taken time to employ, these our unemployed doctors?
if you recognize my approach, I've said it very clearly that we have been in government before. Our colleagues in the UPND will be playing with a very dangerous thing if they don't recognize the lack of patience on the people that have been promised. So I would like to believe they are as aware as anybody that any delay in fulfilling promises like this, especially if they are contained in the budget, any delay without a proper reason to explain why the delay has taken place is a very dangerous move on the side of government. So we urge government to move quickly on the fulfillment of this promise. And if there's any problem they're finding, they must immediately and quickly communicate it to the people that are concerned.